Hey y'all. Hey, happy Thursday. So, picking up where we left off yesterday in the difference in what it really means to be obedient and disobedient. And of course, um, obedience is setting ourselves and submitting, yielding ourselves, surrendering ourselves to the Father through Jesus Christ and laying aside our will, laying aside the way we would do things, laying aside what we think is best for what He says is best. And in looking at this, disobedient and living without God, disobedient to what? Again, His way of doing and being right, His laws, His teachings, precepts, and His instructions, His way of doing things. Now, I want to go and read in Acts chapter 16. And let's go there. Well, before we go, and we'll go to Galatians 2:20, which is a very familiar verse for you, I'm sure. And it says, I have been crucified with Christ. And you could probably finish the rest of that verse without me even reading it. But this is what it means when we submit, when we deny ourselves, when we yield self is just the best way to put it. When we yield our lives, surrendering ourselves to Him, it is dying to self, dying to that sin nature, that we may live in Jesus Christ, living in Jesus as Jesus Christ. So Galatians 2:20, I'm going to read, of course, out of the Amplified Version. It says, I have been crucified with Christ. In Him I have shared His crucifixion. It is no longer I who live, but Christ the Messiah lives in me. And the life that I now live in the body, I live by faith, by adherence, reliance, and complete trust in the Son of God, who gave Himself up for me. It actually says here, who loved me and gave Himself up for me. Oh, this is powerful. Therefore, I do not treat God's gracious gift as something of minor importance and defeat its very purpose. I do not set aside and invalidate and frustrate and nullify the grace, the unmerited favor of God. I don't set it aside. And that, if we take that, we don't treat God's gracious gift as something of minor importance. Minor importance. Again, going back to what we read on Monday, that what God has done, what Jesus, by laying down His life, what He did is not at all to be compared with what Adam did. It's out of all proportion. It is so big and so great. And that is grace. You remember we read that. It was His grace towards us. We don't treat it as something of minor importance and defeat its very purpose. I do not set aside, invalidate, frustrate, and nullify the grace of God. And sometimes I think that we can have an image of grace that is soft. That is, soft is the only word that I can think of. And if you have been with me for any length of time, you're familiar with the Hebrew loving kindness, tender mercy, that Hesed, okay? So Hesed was Old Testament. It was God's incredible love for us. Well, grace in the New Testament, that charis in the Greek, this unmerited favor, this goodness of God towards us, is also much like Hesed. And for me, in thinking about grace and preparing for this, I have had a picture of how Hesed is so fierce in its pursuit of us, right? But grace is also fierce in its pursuit of you. It is not something to be taken lightly. And it's not something of minor importance, because as this says here, would defeat its very purpose. But grace is powerful, grace is strong, and grace is in pursuit of you. And we'll pick up here tomorrow. I'll see you then. Bye, y'all.